Good morning, everyone. This is your Sir Francis. Last week we discussed about the models of communication, the linear models of communication, specifically the Laswell model of communication. Now we're going to discuss or talk about the first and the earliest model of communication of Aristotle, the Aristotle model of communication. Aristotle was a teacher of rhetoric and even put up an academy to produce good speakers. Here is the model of Aristotle's models of communication. First, the speaker. Next, the message or the speech received by the listener or the audience. Occasionally, when we say occasionally, it is sometimes or few times it happens. Occasionally, it gives feedback. And most of the time, the feedback or the effect comes at the last part. Okay, now let's proceed to the criticism of Aristotle's method. When we say criticism, this is the downside of this kind of model. There are few criticisms around this model. Some of them are there is no concept of feedback. Okay, according to this, there's no concept of feedback. It is sometimes not not all the times, but most of the times there is no concept of feedback. The speaker continues to talk. The speaker continues to give message, and there is almost no chance to give feedback for the listeners if they understand the message or not. Next is there is no model of or there is no concept of communication. Communication failure like noise barriers. Okay, most of the time there is no noise that stop the communication. It is always a one way. Next, this model can only be used in public speaking, meaning to say it should be used and can ideal be used in a public speaking. There is a large crowd of the listener. Most of the time there's a large crowd of the listener, and this can only be used in public speaking such as public gatherings, in the classroom, can be used in the classroom as well. And there are many occasions that this should be only used in public speaking, meaning to say it is not one-on-one communication. Next, in 1960, David Berlo postulated Berlo's sender message channel receiver or SMCR model of communication. Shannon Weber's model of communication, he prescribed factors affecting the individual components in the communication, making the communication more efficient. This model also focuses on encoding and decoding, which happens before the sender sends the message, before the receiver receives the message. Okay, this is the Berlos model of communication. We are in the Berlos models of communication. Okay, the source is the speaker. Message is what you are talking or your communication is all about. Your context, what you mean. The channel is how this communication is provided. Decoders or the receiver is the listener. The communication from the source, the communication skills, how well the communicator or the speaker can relay this message. Attitudes, how he use or how he sends the message, his hand signals, his facial gestures, his knowledge about this kind of message, if he is a rich or a wealthy man, how can he send message to the middle class, to the poor class, or to the lower class, social system, where does he belong, and culture. Of course, where he came from. The sender or the messenger or the speaker will vary the message from where he came from. The speaker had different meaning or will have different message if he came from the Philippines. Then he will be adjusted if he is going to talk to or have a communication with the other nationalities. The message, the context, and elements of the attainment of the structure code, meaning to say, his message, this will be sent to the receiver. What is the message all about? How he formed the message. The channel is the platform of communication. It could be your your cell phone or anything. The channel can be used. These are one of the channels of the communication. Hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and tasting. Hearing is how the message is being received, how the words being heard. That is the hearing. Seeing, the facial structure, how you see the face of your teacher or how you see the face of your classmate if he makes face during the communication. Touching, if you hold something that being held by the speaker or how you touch the speaker. Smelling, how does it smell? And tasting, these are all the channels or these are the means when to receive the message. Receiver, as like the source, the communication skills, how well the receiver in the communication attitudes, how he receives or how he interprets this communication, his attitude will affect knowledge about the message. Social system, the social system will be different from from other social class, from the upper class, lower class, and to the middle class. They will have different interpretation and culture. Of course, if you have different culture, you will have different interpretations.